Hi, everyone. It's Nia Claire with the Light Up, and I am very excited to be having another interview for the March 26th Light Up event that we have coming up in less than a week. I can hardly believe it. We are just celebrating spring equinox. We have all this opening, and from what I hear, it's going to be warm this weekend. So you're going to want to come out, get out of the house, maybe put on a light spring jacket and bring yourself to the Light Up where you'll get warmed up even more. And I'm so excited about it. So we are not recording this live right now. We are recording ahead, and this is being posted on Tuesday, March 21st. And I am here today with one of my very dear friends and someone I love dearly, and Briana Chermak, who is a medium, and she is also a Reiki practitioner, and she's amazing. And we are so blessed to have her at the Light Up this coming week. And finally, the stars aligned. Everything works. So Briana, welcome. Yay. I'm glad you're on. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much, Nia. I guess as you said, I am a medium and Reiki practitioner. Nia and I have been talking about the Light Up for several months, just trying to pinpoint one that I could get to, and finally it lined up. And I'm super, super excited to be there on Sunday. So if any of you guys are watching this and you know me or you don't know me, please come out. It's going to be an amazing time. There's going to be other practitioners there as well, and Nia is going to do an amazing job with her channeling. So I'm excited.
I'm excited too. These events are so special. And one of the things that, like, I've known Briana for 5-6 years. It's been a while. Yeah. It's been a while. And I think we got very close during COVID.
Yes.
There was a lot of connection via Zoom, and one of the things that I did when it first kicked up, and we're coming up to like that anniversary, which is weird, of when it all started. I looked on Facebook memories, and it was like 3 years ago, I was innocently saying, "Hey, everybody, until this is all over, I'm going to do a daily meditation." I'm thinking 2 weeks. I remember this, and like months later, we're still doing the daily meditation. And Briana, you came to that how many times? Like, it was just all the time we were seeing each other.
Yeah.
And it was just really powerful. And so we've gotten to know each other. And who knew that COVID would bring people closer in that way? But I know that for you, I think COVID was kind of an important time in your journey. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's amazing. A couple months before COVID happened, I remember saying in my head, I wish we could just slow down. And then little did I know what was going to happen. But in all seriousness, there's a lot of things that have happened that are not so great during that time period. But the good things, I always try and look for the good in life. And shortly before that, about a year before that, I had like a big spiritual awakening. And I was in a corporate office, worked in a corporate office, and essentially had my boss talking about an employee or about a situation and this employee. And I felt my stomach like start to tighten and tense up. And I was like, this is really uncomfortable. And so I said, okay, well, I'll talk to you later. And so I started walking back to my desk. And for some reason, I said, God, please take this pain away. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, my whole body went calm. Mm. And I had this feeling like everything in the world made sense. Like everything was perfectly orchestrated. And I heard a woman's voice say, tell him he's been crabby since I left. And I was like, am I having a crisis point in my life? Like someone put me in a straitjacket, Yeah. And so I go back to my desk and I say in my head, I go, if this is real, what's your name? And I hear her say what sounded like Irene, but it was like very muffled in between, so I couldn't get the full word. So I was like, I need to tell my boss about this. This is crazy, right? So I sit down with him and I said, I know this is very weird. This is what happened. And I just need to tell you about it. And he would not make eye contact with me. And he goes, what did you say the name was? And I told him, and he goes, you were one letter off. And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, that's my mother's name was Ione. And all I wanted to do was hear from her on my birthday. And today is my birthday.
I'm gonna cry. I know these moments.
I bawled. I mean, I just lost it. And I looked at him like, I'm not crazy. And he's like, no. He's like, you have a gift and you can choose to use it or not.
That's right.
And from that point on, it was just like this. I was guided. I kept praying and I said, please give me a teacher. Next day I go to a bookstore. I hear a voice say, you're going to meet someone. And so I go to this bookstore. This woman's looking at the same book as me. She looks at me and says, how long have you known? And I started crying again. I'm like, what is going on? And, you know, she had a friend who did Reiki. I got a Reiki session, and fast forward, it's like it brought a part of myself to the forefront. It was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like it was there, but I could never name it. I never had a word for it.
Yeah.
And so I had a friend, Erica,
yes.
Will Knapp.
Yeah.
She's
amazing.
Yes, she's incredible. And she goes, you're going to be a medium. And I went, no. Like,
I love that. I love it.
And she was 100% accurate on that. Shortly thereafter, I did a reading for my boss. Asked me to do a reading for his wife. I did a reading for her, and I could see the person that I was doing the reading of, the person I was talking to. I could hear their voice. I could smell like the smells of the house. It just came through so clear, and it was just crazy. And so being in a corporate environment, I was like, I need to take every class on this.
Right.
And my first class was with Mia. So thank you. And the rest is history. During COVID, I started doing readings via Zoom and just by word of mouth. And I ended up, I think I'm around 150 readings now. So
that it's amazing to me. I personally get really joyful, like full on joy when I hear people's, I'll call it their coming out story, right? Because we come out and they were like, no, didn't want that. Sorry, let me back up. And but there's something, what you said that just really struck me, because it's very familiar to me, it's like something all of a sudden made sense about how I was getting information that I just thought there was, like, I just didn't fit, or something was always like, how did I know things I didn't have any business knowing?
Right.
Or perhaps why am I hearing, people talk to me, right? Why am I getting experiences where I'm feeling other people's experiences,
Yes.
And I think, if nothing else, like that to me was the most important thing. I mean, I love the gift, but the fact that I got a chance to go, there is something else going on.
Yes.
That there is no, nobody said, oh, by the way, if you're experiencing these things, go this direction, open that door. We stumble through it. And it's just so beautiful, Briana. So thank you. I think I should just do a whole series of interviews with people. Like, tell me your story. How did you burst through the woo-woo door? You know, how did you get in there? I love it. I love it.
Well,
and so, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and to add to that, lo and behold, I forgot this detail. For some reason, I looked up empath online because I was like, I feel like this is something that means like something, you know. And so I looked it up and I found this podcast. And so I had been listening to this podcast. They're talking about energy and all this stuff. And I was like, you know, at work, just, you know, doing my thing, trying to, you know, not draw any attention. After the fact, I realized that the podcast, the whole goal of it is to reactivate people.
Oh, no. Of course.
So,
isn't that just priceless? That is the best. That is brilliant. That's brilliant. I love that. I love that. So, yeah. And, you know, people say, you know, they're like, once you start going down a path, when you know things start to go in that direction, like the winds blow you in the right direction, right? And I agree. Like, how do you stumble into these situations? How did I know to look that up? Why did I go to that event on that day? Why did I turn left instead of right? And you get to have a little bit more faith in those things, and that's not just limited to our, you know, intuitive woo-woo world. That's like job interviews. It's everything. It's everything. It's everything everywhere.
Absolutely.
All at once. I still breathe.
Yes, it was a great one.
No, it was. It deserved all the accolades. I agree. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what how things, you and I were talking last week about kind of what we're experiencing, because it's spring equinox. And I know, so first of all, just from my perspective, I always say, you know, we always talk about these things like, oh, it's brand new. And then you go, I always laugh because you'll go back and look at things like 5 years ago. I said the same thing about the moon or about this. But I will just say that I feel like there's a different experience happening.
Yeah.
You know, and you said something and we were going to talk about it. So I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear your experience with the experience.
Well, you know, I don't know if this applies to anyone else out there, but I have noticed that we're in the Northern Hemisphere. So this winter has been challenging. There's been a lot. I've done readings and, you know, personal experience. And finding that people are going through a lot of inner child work, a lot of stuff coming up that you're like, where, like, you have a reaction to something and you're like, what? Where did that come from? Yeah. A lot of people having, I've noticed a bully dynamic, like bully and victim dynamic a lot. Also just, it's like sometimes people are acting like teenagers, like they're defiant and they're like, I don't want to do that, you know, and just very like set in their ways. And I feel like I think I was telling you this the other day. I always say I was listening to a podcast. I don't know which one, but I was listening to many good ones. Yeah. Yeah. And this teacher said, before you grow or you start something amazing, you purge. And another teacher that I've listened to many times always says, like, the contraction before the expansion. So it's like things get really tight. They're very uncomfortable. Nothing, it's like, you know, putting on those clothes that just don't fit, but you want them to fit and they don't fit. And it's like, all right, you got to donate those. You got to get rid of them, you know, unless you're going to go work out. Like, they're just not, you know, or they have a hole in the pocket of your favorite jeans and you're like, I have to get rid of these, but I love them. And so I think that's kind of what we've been asked to do over the last, I'd say since about August is when it kind of started to kick off. I am not an astrologer, but I do know, I believe Saturn is just moved into Pisces. And then there's also, I believe Neptune is moving into Aquarius this week, along with the equinox. And basically,
and Pluto did something too.
Yes.
Pluto is like, that's another big one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it, and it's been like, but we also, the other interesting thing is for the last over a month, or we have like 2 or 3 months with no retrogrades.
Yes.
And we had so many over the last year, like they were like piled up on each other. It felt like it was like, oh, again, again, you know.
Yes.
And so, I feel like there's a bit of a, I like the way you've like the purge or that squeeze. It's like one of the, I often use birthing metaphors, probably because I'm a mom, right? But one of the things about children being born naturally, not C-section, is that what happens in the birth canal is that the baby's squeezed and all of the fluids get squeezed down through their digestive system so that they can, poop them out. There we go. So we need that squeezing to get what is no longer, we talk about things that are no longer working. I would even say they probably haven't been working for a really long time. It's like residual.
Yes.
Like when we say no longer working, but there's residue. There's like, it's like the story of like if you swallow gum and it sits in your intestine, like, right? That's an old wives' tale, I think, but it's like that, it just sits there. It's not doing anything. You haven't thought about chewing it for a while, for sure, but it's not going anywhere. But now it is. Now it's moving. How's that for that? I just took that way too far.
No, but that like ties in perfectly, because what I was just going to mention, you talked about the birth metaphor and the gum, which is amazing. But it's like you get that like gum stuck on your shoe and you can't get it off, and try scraping it and you're like, oh, I'm trying to go wherever I need to go, and you can't get it off. But that, what was it? Mars did some kind of a cycle, but it went from it was a 9-month period. It was like from August until just recently. And there's another one coming up, I believe, end of March or April, that's going to go through November. But they're like 8 to 9 month periods. So you were talking about birthing. And I feel like that's what we're going through. And I've also noticed a lot of people are having stomach issues, heartburn, painful menstrual periods, like hormonal stuff, all things related to the womb and that area. So I think another thing that people are being called up into is to honor their vulnerability. And if they're not okay, it's okay to not be okay. And you just gotta.
I'm just gonna put. I wanna like bold and underline what you just said, because we all go, oh yeah. It's okay to not be okay, except for me. Right. Like it's okay for you to not be okay. It's okay for them to be vulnerable, but for me. And we live in a world right now where there's a veneer a lot of the time. We're working for lots of reasons, right? And we can justify it every which way, but it's those veneers that we've gotten so used to them that figuring out where our authenticity is gets very challenging. Even when we think we're being authentic.
Right. And have you ever noticed if you do any kind of healing work or a reader, when people are like, I'm going through this crisis, you're like, yes, because you know that they're going to grow. And on the other side of it is this beautiful thing. You don't wish anyone would go through harm. But when you're going through it yourself, you forget, there's growth on the other side of this. But I feel like this is impacting everyone. And it's not, I think what I like to, drive home when I do readings, or if I do Reiki, also I'm a Reiki practitioner, is that we are all human. And no matter how you think you should be prepared, or, as women, oftentimes we're the ones who, make sure everything's ready in the house, and a lot of us are working, or we have to take care of the kids, or do all of these things. And it's like, I'll take care of myself, and you kind of brush it off. But now it's no longer I'll do that when I have time. It's like our physical bodies, our mental bodies, our emotional bodies are like, you need to do this now.
Yeah.
And it feels uncomfortable because you can't fake it.
Well, when discomfort, a number of years ago, I know I've told you this. I know you've heard me say this before, but a number of years ago, I should find the recording. I channeled Melchizedek. I still remember it was visceral. It was like it sometimes when I channel, it's just like goes through. Like I don't remember anything, but this was like one of those, like it locked in, and I had a visual, I had a physical experience of it. I could see he said it was like in March or April. And it was so long ago. Is at the old Metamorphosis. That tells you, like, that's how long ago it was, like years ago. And some of you listening might have been there, right? But he said, you often talk about spirit as kicking you in the ass or pushing you forward, and that hasn't worked. So instead, we just are standing gently behind you. Mm-hmm. And this is so that you can't fall backwards. Mm-hmm. You can't stop. We're keeping a momentum. And he said, what will happen is that comfort, right now, discomfort is a red flag, but comfort will become the red flag.
Yep.
And that's what we're experiencing. Like so far, like we've gotten rattled. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, just notice in your, like when things are going really, really easily, like it's almost like, well, what the heck, what's going on? And it's not that it's different than seeking drama.
Right. Yep.
It's really about, and that's what growth is. If mm-hmm. we're truly growing and expanding and moving outward, mm-hmm. we're always delving into the unknown. Always.
Yep.
That's scary stuff.
It is. And it I will say, a couple of months ago, I had a great conversation with you, and you reminded me, I was going through something, and I go, it's just, like I thought I dealt with this. And you said, but it's a spiral. You're gonna come back up to it, right?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we forget that even though we're going through something that we feel is similar to what we've gone through in the past, we are not the same person. That's right. That met that 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And, what I've heard a lot lately is, people are like, I need to get in shape. I need to do this. I need to, do all of these things. And how come I haven't done them? How come, you may have not done that, but you were growing leaps and bounds up here and in your heart.
Yeah.
And you could not have gone through the last 3 years and not experienced some kind of a change. And I truly feel like the last 3 years, it's been like we've been in a cocoon.
Yeah.
And we're just transforming into, I don't want to say a different version of ourselves, but that core part of ourselves that it's like we put all the layers on top and cover it up. And it's like, it's just coming off. It's like, this is me. This is who I am.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got all of a sudden this song from Greatest Showman popped into my head, and I'm like, right, there we are. This is I think that's really true. And I think there's the part we just bringing it back to the vulnerability
Mm-hmm.
is that when we are emerging, right, that's the most vulnerable time.
Mm-hmm.
We're incredible, and to be it's there's a delicate balance in all of this. But if we're
Yeah.
not willing
Yeah.
to truly like be in this experience of vulnerability, of seeing ourselves as we are, seeing ourselves honestly, seeing each other honestly,
Mm-hmm.
being willing to change, being humble but
Yeah.
courageous, all
Yes.
of these things, we're being invited to just really do things differently. And I'm here for it, and I love this conversation. I could talk to you for like 2 years. I love it. And that's who you are in the world. That's it. You're a bright light, and you're doing wonderful work. And I think the fact that I think you're not just doing one-on-one um like readings. You're also doing group readings, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Those are fun, aren't they?
Yeah.
I know. I was thinking the best. I'm like, if you can get a bunch of people together who love each other and can, it is the best kind
Yeah.
of experience. And so at the light up, you're going to be doing one question readings. What are you going to be doing? Tell us a little bit about it.
You know, I've never really fit the mold. So I'm gonna do healing. I'm gonna send healing. But whenever I do that, much like Nia, I like to talk. And so whenever I do that, I will hear messages from someone's guide or ancestors or family members that will help me to relay something that they need to hear at that moment in time. And I guess what I do, how I explain it to people is like, it's like you have this, all these hallways inside of you, right? In rooms. And
Mhm.
it's like, I go in and I kind of find like that one door where the handle's just jammed. And you're like, I don't know why this isn't working. And you keep running into that door. And
Mhm.
so I just put a little bit of oil on that handle so that you can open the door. And that's, I like to do that because I feel like when I'm around people, I see them as who they are on a soul level. And I think oftentimes we forget who we are. We want to say, well, I'm not this, I'm not that. It's like, you are beautiful just the way you are. I don't care if you're having a bad day. I don't care if it's that time of the month. I don't care if you're in grief. You're still beautiful and you're still amazing.
That's
So,
awesome. I think it's going to be amazing, and I'm so glad that you're going to be a part of it. And thank you so much for saying yes. And what I love to ask everybody is, what lights you up, Brianna? What is the thing that lights you up?
I there's so many things. I would say the last, I don't know how many years, but being in a place where you don't know what's going to happen,
Mhm.
but you also know that there are like miracles coming your way that you have no idea about. And I think, when you're talking about the vulnerability, it's like I will find that when I start talking to someone and I'm feeling a certain way, they're like, oh my gosh, I've been going through that. In that connection with people, it's like we are all humans who want to be loved, accepted, honored, and seen. And that's what brings me joy. So being able
Oh, I
to do that.
love that. That's so beautiful. And I know that to be true about you. And I'm honored and delighted that you're in my life. And I'm so glad that you're going to be part of the Light Up. And for all of those who are sitting here going, I got to meet her, I really strongly suggest that you come and get there early and meet her. It's going to be amazing. And thank you so much for joining me tonight. And it is Tuesday where you are, everybody. And so just check the comments section and you will find the link to the event where you can get tickets, and they're $20. And we will see you on Sunday, the 26th. Thanks, Brianna.
Awesome. Thank you, Nia.
Bye, everybody.